Recording on the cloud.
Okay, so all right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We had a little bit of technical issues, but we're back online. So thank you for joining us. This webinar is about construction contractor licensing. And by the way, we offer a money-back guarantee. So if you didn't learn anything today, we'll be happy to refund your money. In fact, I'm feeling so good this morning. We'll double your refund. Okay, so whatever you pay, we'll pay you twice. Want to introduce our co-host, back in person, right and left hand man, Martin Pea. He's manning the fort while I'm talking. And then, by the way, he'll also be serving coffee and pastries shortly. So just hang in there. So let me go over some Zoom webinar features. The webinar platform that we're using is a little different than the Zoom meetings you may be accustomed to. So with our webinar, if you have any questions, there's a Q&A function that you can use to type in your questions. And if you want to ask your questions live, then please use the raise hand icon and we will unmute your microphone so you're able to talk. So this is a little different. Usually the Zoom meetings, everyone can talk, but this one is a little bit different. We don't want anyone not to be able to ask questions or be able to ask the questions live if you want to do that. We want to stick to the Ask the Building Expert title, so you're entitled to ask whatever questions you want. I don't mind if your questions are off topic and does not specifically relate to the subject matter topic. If I'm able to answer it, I will. This webinar comes with a disclaimer that all the information strictly applies to Hawaii contractor licensing laws. If you're from a different state, the laws in other states do not apply to Hawaii. So it's best to check with your local contractor licensing board for specifics. And the reason I know that is I used to have a contractor license in the state of Oregon as a general contractor, residential contractor, and the laws are different as far as licensing. Okay, so also my next webinar is on construction defects. So this is a little promo, and that webinar is going to be in about 2 weeks from now. So if you're interested in construction defects, what causes a defect, how to resolve a defect, be sure to tune in for that webinar. And that webinar and the other webinars that are upcoming are not Hawaii specific. So they could apply, the information could apply to any state in the US and even building and construction around the world. So looking forward to giving that webinar as well. And then we also have a whole bunch. So if you're able to go to our website, look at the list. We have 2 webinars scheduled each month throughout the rest of the year. So we're going to be very busy. But let's get into the meat of the subject. So we're talking about when is a license needed? When do you need to have a contractor's license? And there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, myths, fairy tales, and I'm here to really make sure that the facts are revealed. Okay, so you're going to hear the real facts today, despite what other contractors may have told you or other people have told you. Here's the facts. And I'm not making anything up because the information I'm presenting to you comes from state laws. Okay, so we're talking about HRS 444, Hawaii Revised Statutes, which is the chapter on contractors, and HAR, Hawaii Administrative Rules 16-77. So basically, these are the rules and regulations with respect to contractor licensing. So if anybody tells you something and you don't know whether it's true or not, it's easy to check by going to the reference source of the law and the administrative rules. Okay, and that's what I do. And by the way, I actually serve as a advisory board member for DCCA RICO, and for over 15 years. And so our job was to resolve complaints filed against contractors. So in our role, we really have to be versed in the laws and contractor laws, as well as the construction laws, to be able to help resolve cases. So a lot of the information that I learned in the past actually came from on-the-job training as I worked on different various cases, working with contractor complaints and helping resolve those complaints. And by the way, the complaints were pertaining to residential construction mainly, but there were some commercial construction issues as well. Okay, so if anytime you need to double check the resource, you just go and look it up. Okay, and by the way, the information is available online. You just type in a Google search and it'll take you there, or you can go to the um, DCCA website and they have some information there. Okay, so there's actually three main contractor classifications, three, and it's basically A, B, and C. So the license A category is general engineering. And in this category, it covers basically site work, bridges, wastewater treatment plants, and a lot of basically non-residential work. Okay, and if you're able to see the photo, uh, I hope you can identify. It's at the Honolulu airport, and there's a rail construction up being built. And by the way, how many of you guys are for the rail? I know usually when I speak, it's at a live presentation, but usually when I ask the question, uh, nobody raises their hand. I have another question. How many of you think the rail is too costly? And then, everybody raises their hand. And then I tell them, you know what? I'm for the rail. And they're like, ooh. And I said, yeah, I'm for the rail to be in San Diego. And um, by the way, when I drove past the airport and I saw the rail construction, something magical happened. You know what it is? My wallet felt lighter. So, by the way, the rail is like the most costly public works project in Hawaii, ever. And the rail is actually uh, basically two different projects. The main project is a construction project, and then the second one is the operation and maintenance. We haven't even started the operation and maintenance, so we're only into the construction phase, and it's way over budget, as you know. But enough about the rail. Let's talk about the contractor licensing. So the classification A is general engineering. So it covers, like I said, bridges, roadways, site work, and a lot of heavy equipment type of work. When you pass by Kakako area, and you see these huge equipment moving earth around, doing site work and digging huge holes in the ground, uh, 40 feet below the street level. That's basically general engineering type work. Okay, so what other type of work is not under general engineering? Okay, commonly known is general building, which is a B license. Okay, so uh, this is the most common license. And normally, when you ask if a contractor's licensed and he says yes, he has a B license if he's a general contractor. And note, I said general contractor. Okay, a general contractor is a contractor who basically can build a house, okay, or build a high-rise building such as the one we're looking at. I think the photo of this one is on Keomoku Street and near Kapiolani.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so normally a B license is called a BC license, and the C stands for uh, a specialty contractor. Okay, so if a contractor only has a B license, they can only do certain things. They cannot do every single thing. For instance, let's say a contractor only has a B license and he doesn't have a C specialty. He cannot do um, different types of work, say asphalt shingle roofing under the B license. Okay, he would have to sub it out to a contractor, roofing contractor who has a C roofing license that can do asphalt shingle. Okay, so sometimes it may get a little confusing. Okay, now we go to a C license. Okay, so the C license is a specialty contractor, and under this category, we have almost every type of construction work there's a C license for. So on this particular photo, um, the contractor is an asphalt seal coating contractor, and he has a C license for asphalt seal coating. Okay, and this this project is out in Eva, and as you can see, the seal coating was just freshly laid, so it looks wet. Okay, so under the C license, there's a whole bunch of different categories. So the complete list, there's over 87 different specialty licenses. So basically, any kind of building component, there's a separate license for. Okay, so just be aware of that. And what does that really mean? Well, basically, when you think about it, it means that almost every single component, a building component, you practically need to be licensed in order to properly install that component. And we're talking about concrete, carpentry work, roofing, plumbing, electrical, and so forth. There's also a specialty license that's not categorized. There's no name for it. It's unknown, and that particular license is for something that basically construction that nobody really does, and it's so specialized that they would have to go to the state contractors license board and apply for that license to do whatever construction work that is that hasn't been done before. Okay, and I'm not going into the 87 different types because that'll take another 2 hours and we only have an hour. Okay, so incidental and supplemental work. Now, what does that mean? Okay, what it means is that in the case of, say, plumbing work, that contractor has a plumbing license, but he does not have any other license related to doing his work. So in the photo, it shows plumbing drain pipes, and this is a photo of ceiling, and the drywall is cut out. Okay, and there was insulation there, and there was a leak that damaged the ceiling. So the ceiling got wet, the insulation had mold on it, and it was an emergency plumbing job. Okay, so in this particular circumstance, the plumber did not have a drywall license, did not have a uh, license to install insulation. He did not have a uh, mold remediation license. He only had a plumbing license. Okay, but the law allows, and this is covered under the incidental supplemental work, the plumber to cut the drywall out, remove the mold, remove the insulation, and fix the plumbing, and put the new insulation back and the new drywall back, patch and paint. Okay, he does not have a license for any of the work except plumbing, but the law allows him to do all the other work because it's considered incidental and supplemental work to the plumbing work. Okay, so basically, uh, that's kind of a exemption to having specific licenses for specific types of work. Okay, and by the way, caveat: if you have a license or a well, let's say if you have a B license, a general building license, you cannot do electrical and plumbing work unless you have a specific electrical and plumbing license. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, also the definition of RME, and you may have heard that before. RME stands for Responsible Managing Employee. Every licensed contractor has to have an RME, and that's a RME license. Okay, if you're a sole proprietor contractor, meaning you don't have any employees, you're just by yourself, you're the RME. If you work for a company, say XYZ Construction, okay, that XYZ Construction has a licensed RME, and it may be a different person than uh, uh, the owner of the company. Okay, and the XYZ Construction Company would have their own contractor's license under their name. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Okay, so what other exemptions are there? Is there situations where you don't really need a license? And um, the answer is yes, because Carpenter Bob here is finishing up a birdhouse, and he doesn't need a license for that. Okay, so there's situations where the law allows um, work to be done without having a contractor's license. And commonly known is the handyman exemption, where currently you can do any work without a license up to $1,500. And the $1,500 would include the cost of labor and materials. Okay. Now, uh, when I said any work, it's basically any type of work except plumbing and electrical. Okay. Plumbing and electrical, you still have to have a license. Okay. Also, under the handyman exemption, um, if you work at the same property and you do different jobs, you cannot parcel the jobs out to make each job under the $1,500 baseline. Okay. And it's also in a 12-month period. So if you're a handyman, you cannot work on the same property and charge $1,000 on one job and then charge $600 on another job. You already exceeded the $1,500 threshold, which would require a license. Okay. And then also another caveat is that if the work being done requires a building permit, then that already automatically triggers the need to have a licensed contractor. Okay, so there's these different uh, things to be aware of and fine lines in what the law says. Okay, now let's talk about the owner builder law. This is another situation where you don't need to be licensed if you're building your own house. Okay, and it's kind of tricky and it's kind of risky because if you're an owner builder, you still have to hire licensed plumbing and electrical contractors, but the rest of the work you can basically do yourself. And personally, I do not agree with some of the contents in the law, but that's what it is. So uh, basically, under the owner builder law, the property owner needs to sign an affidavit with the DPP, building department, and he cannot sell the property for 18 months from the completion of construction. And the reason for that is they don't want developers or contractors to be flipping houses and selling them. And if the work's shoddy, uh, there's hardly any recourse because there was no licensed contractor doing the work. Okay, so there's catches or exemptions to that. If somebody is building their own house under the owner builder permit, and by the way, it's you get a permit, but then where the line on the permit form lists the name of the general contractor, you as a owner would have your name listed, and um, you got to be very careful if you're doing work on your own under the owner builder permit, because things that you need to be aware of, you need to check with your own insurance company to make sure that they know what's going on. Because if anybody gets hurt on the property, you may be liable. Okay. A couple other things is that you're required by law to keep track of all the paperwork, contract documents, change orders, hours that people work at your property, that you're required to keep it for 3 years. Okay. Also, you must supervise the work yourself unless you hire somebody else that's a professional. You're responsible for ensuring that the construction meets all the building codes and inspections. Because remember, you're acting like your own general contractor. You're also responsible for all the contractors working at the property and to be sure that they're licensed, such as electrical and plumbing. Okay. And then you're also responsible for um, complying with all the tax laws. And what I mean by that is that if you have workers that you hired, okay, that are your employees, you have to pay or be responsible for paying their unemployment taxes and workmen's compensation and all that. And that's that's a scary issue, because the bottom line is that if you hire workers and they don't have a contractor's license, okay, they basically, and it's a gray area, but they basically become your own employee. Okay, and that's why a lot of people don't want to do owner builder, because they don't want to be responsible for taxes and things like that. Also, make sure that if the people you hire, they don't have a contractor's license and they decide to bring their friends or family to help them do the work, who pays for their insurance, or who's going to have the liability when somebody that worked there didn't get paid or they got hurt on the job? Okay, so that's a big caveat and something very important. Okay, beware of contractor license and insurance scams. Okay, this is a big one. Okay, first, when you're going to hire a contractor, make sure the contractor's license. Well, how do you make sure? Well, you call up DCCA and you do a check to see whether they have a license. And what's important is, what kind of license do they have? Okay, case in point, um, I was called to inspect this rock wall that fell down, and the lady called me and I said, was a contractor license? And she said, yes. I called DCCA and they told me that he was licensed. I said, okay, well, that's good. Okay, so I get down to the property and the wall was improperly built. And I asked the lady, can I see your contract? And she showed it to me, and it had, um, XYZ Rock Wall Company and the license number. And I said, okay, that's a good step. And then I made a call to DCCA and I asked them, here's the name. Are they licensed? Is the license current? And they said, yeah, the license is current. Okay, so you think, all right, so we're doing good so far. But here's what happened. I asked a further question. What kind of license is that? And you know what DCCA told me? It's a license for tree trimming. Okay, so the bottom line is that the contractor that built the rock wall was not licensed to build a rock wall. They were only licensed to do tree trimming. So lesson learned is, when you check with DCCA, you have to ask them, not only is the contractor licensed, but what exactly is the license for? So if the contractor is doing drywall at your house, but his actual license is for cabinet work, that might not work, right? So be sure you ask the specific questions. Also, double check the expiration date of the license, because there was a job where I was on, and the guy was hired to build this $1 million house up in Hawaii Ridge. So when he started the job, he was licensed, but halfway through, his license expired. And that's where problems came up, because during the time that he was finishing half the house, he was actually unlicensed. And he didn't renew his insurance either. So even at the start of the job, you can be licensed, but if your license expires in the middle of the job, then guess what? It doesn't cover the contractor for the remaining part of the job to finish the house. It only covers up to the point where the contractor had a valid contractor's license. Okay, so be careful. Also, the insurance too. at the time the contractor starts the job, you want to be sure you ask them for a certificate of insurance, and don't accept the certificate that uh, says on the bottom where it says certificate holder, it's the state of Hawaii. That's not acceptable. That's only evidence that the contractor had the insurance at the time he had to submit that certificate to the state of Hawaii, showing that he did have the proper insurance. But um, after that, the next day, the contractor can cancel the insurance, or he can fail to make his monthly payments if he's on a payment plan. And then guess what? His insurance is canceled, and you don't know it. So be sure to track the expiration date of the contract, uh, the insurance. So if the job is going to be such that the schedule is over the date of the expiration period of the insurance, make sure that prior to the expiration of the insurance, the contractor gives you a new certificate showing the uh, renewal date is another year. Then you're protected. You always want to have the insurance term more than the construction period. Okay. And don't be scared to ask for that. And also, um, make sure that if you're the homeowner or the building owner or developer, make sure that on the actual certificate of insurance, you're named as the certificate holder. Okay. Now, there's what's called a one-to-one rule, and that rule pertains to electrical plumbing. And basically, what it is you can have one licensed electrician. Um, if you have two electricians working on a job, one of them has to be licensed, and the other one could be an apprentice or helper. And the same applies for plumbing. It's one to one. So you cannot have a situation where you have 8 electricians on the job, and I'm talking about big jobs. If it's just one house, you may have only 2 people there. But if you have more, it's good to remember the one-to-one rule. So in bigger jobs where you have, let's say they're building uh, a high rise in Kaka'ako, and you got uh, 10 electricians on the job. Okay, guess what? 5 of those have to be licensed. They have to have uh, electrician's license. The other half don't need it. That's the one-to-one rule. You cannot have two guys that are licensed and 8 guys that aren't licensed. And the same goes for plumbing. And so just be aware of that on the bigger jobs. Okay. Now the uh, insurance. I'd like to talk more about the insurance, and here's where the scams can come in. Okay, so basically, um, what can happen is the contractor would give you um, a certificate of insurance, and he says that he's a sole proprietor. Okay, so um, basically, if you look at the certificate, there's general liability, and then under workman's comp, it's zero because he's self-insured. Okay, but what happens if uh, the guy works on your house and then he has helpers? Are those helpers covered? They're not covered under his workman's comp because his workman's comp is only him self-insured. Okay, and then the scam part about it is, yeah, these workers are my family or friends of mine, so you know, don't worry, they're under me. Well, how are they under you? Because you don't have any insurance, workman's comp. The only way to get around that is if that person actually contracted with an employee leasing company that provided the workman's comp. Okay, now um, the other problem could be that uh, when he covers two of his employees and names them under the workman's comp policy for the employee leasing company, and one or both quit, and he hires two new people, but he didn't notify the um, employee leasing company of the change. Guess what? Those two new guys are not covered under the workman's comp. Okay, so be sure that you get the names of the workers and make sure that they're properly licensed. So once again, there's no exemption for friends or family members if that uh, guy you hired, although he could have a license, but he might not have the proper insurance. Okay, let's talk a little bit about actual cases. The photo is a rock wall that was damaged and repaired, and it wasn't repaired correctly because the guy who did the work wasn't uh, a licensed rock wall contractor, and then it failed. So this is a situation where um, it would be considered unlicensed activity. Okay. And by the way, there was no permit taken out for the repair. So here's something interesting. You may or may not know about it, but if in this situation the wall had collapsed and it was repaired, you still need to get a building permit. So just because you're repairing or maintaining something that's existing, that's not an exemption to getting a building permit. So just be careful. A contractor, and I hear that so many times where the contractor says, well, we don't need a permit because we're only repairing it. It's considered repair and maintenance. And that's what they tell, the property owners. And so the property owner says, oh, okay, fine. Um, but there is no such thing in the law that says that if you're doing repair and maintenance, you don't need a building permit. Okay, so there's a lot of untrue things going around, and I'm just here to try to help kind of let you know what the real facts are. Okay, another case. I inspected this house because um, when the lady turned on her disposal, all the lights started flickering. And this is a new addition. Like, okay, well, something doesn't seem right. So I go and inspect the electrical wiring, and I'm like, wow, there's too many wires on a circuit. And then I asked the lady, by the way, who did the work? She said, oh, licensed contractor. And I said, I don't think a licensed contractor did the work. I mean, was a guy licensed to do electrical work? And the lady said, oh, I don't know. He just said he was a licensed contractor. So the mindset was that uh, because the guy had a license, he could do anything. And I come to find out, you know what? That guy actually remodeled her bathroom, and then he decided to do electrical work. So he didn't have a electrical license. He had a license for ceramic tile. Okay. Um, a lot of big projects that when they do waterproofing of parking decks and all that, it's done by a painting contractor and they don't have a waterproofing license. Okay, so how do I know that? I check. A painting license is a C33, waterproofing is a C55, and they didn't have a C55. Okay, so, but I'm not here to turn anybody in. Also, general contractors, they're have a B license or a BC license, and the C includes miscellaneous type of work. And they build a new house, or they remodel the existing house, and that same contractor's crew puts on the asphalt shingle roof. Guess what? If that guy doesn't have a specific license for asphalt roofing, he cannot do asphalt shingle work. And the contractor may say, oh, because I have a B license, I can do any kind of roofing work. No, that's not true. Under the B license, he can only do metal roof and wood shake or shingle roof. He cannot do asphalt shingle roof. That's a specialty separate license. Okay. Tree trimming, we talked about that. Oh, okay. So there was this big house, multi-million-dollar house up Waileiki Ridge, and the homeowner had wanted to install a new sprinkler system because the old one was failing, leaking, and all that. So he spent $25,000 on a brand new system, and there were problems. Some of the stations didn't work and all that, and so I got called because it was a complaint. And come to find out, the guy's the homeowner's yard man was hired to install the sprinkler system. The yard man didn't have a special license for a sprinkler system. In fact, he didn't even have a license at all. He was just a yard guy doing weed eating and mowing and a little bit of tree cutting and things like that. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to share is you have those high-rise buildings with swing stages, and you have a painting contractor painting the building, but he finds concrete cracks spalling, and he has to repair a lot of those, and some of the rebar is corroded, so we have to repair the rebar and so forth. And he only had a painting license. He didn't have a concrete spalling license. So be aware. I know 20 years ago, a lot of painters were doing spalling repair, but if it's minor, superficial, fine. But if it's structural, where it encompasses rebar, where you got to replace the rebar or maintain the corrosion on the rebar, then it requires a separate concrete spalling repair license. So those are the actual cases. I mean, I got tons of cases, but we're only talking for about an hour or so. So basically, I'd like to open it up for any questions. Martin, are you still there?
Yes, Lance, I'm back.
Okay, so do we have any questions or anybody with comments or anything?
No, we haven't gotten any in the Q&A. But I guess if they can raise their hand, can do that, and we can open up the mics and let them ask questions.
Okay, I'm open to that, except on my screen, I don't even see a raise hand icon. So
okay.
I'm not sure on their end whether, are you able to open up everybody's mic so they can talk, and then we'll see. I mean, I hate to have somebody not have the icon and they don't.
Yeah.
Or maybe nobody has any questions, or maybe I confused everybody so much that more so.
Yeah, everybody's mic's opened up, so just got to, I guess, unmute yours if it's muted on your side, yeah, and can ask question.
Hello, I have a question. Lance, this is Liz Garcia. How are you?
Hey, Liz, how you doing? I'm good.
I am well. Okay, so Lance actually did the home inspection for a home that I purchased back in 2019 in Papakolea. As you know, this is adobe soil, all upslope. And we're getting ready to put in a carport, but we need to do 3 phases of the work. Excavation, move the sewer line, do the retaining wall, and then the carport can go on. I actually applied for the building permit through an owner builder, and I have no experience, but my son is an electrical contractor. So I plan on using I plan on using licensed contractors during the different phases that I'll be working with. Is that wise, or should I just, and we're not financing this, we have to pay for it in cash. What's your counsel to me, Lance, because you're a good friend and you've been my inspector over many years in the industry.
Oh, thanks, Liz. I remember that house. It got a beautiful, beautiful view of downtown, but you got a rough slope there. So are they gonna cut in and make it flat from the road, or are you gonna have a driveway going up?
No, they're gonna cut into the, on the roadside, and they're gonna excavate. And I think we have about 12, 13, 14 trucks of rock to get out of here. And then we're gonna be putting the retaining wall and the drainage system. Then we put up the carport. I guess my question to you is, do you think it's wise that I pursue this on my own, or just listening to you? And I did contact my insurance agent, and I'm waiting to hear back from him. He didn't respond yet.
Okay, no, because it's just a carport kind of garage thing. I don't think
Yes.
it's not critical that you hire a general contractor. You can be owner builder on that. Are you going to have any electrical or plumbing work?
Actually, my son is an electrical contractor, and he does work on the multi-million-dollar houses. So I know all that you're telling me about, because it's something that he has to go back and fix somebody else's problem. So yes, he's an electrical contract, been one for about 7 years now.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so he has all the licenses in place and the insurances, because that's one of the things that I am very clear on, not just at the time that I go and get the bid from them, but I keep myself abreast if their license laxed and the insurance was not paid. And that can happen anytime during the building process.
Right. Okay. No, I don't think you have to worry too much about that. I mean, that kind of work could be under an owner builder permit. So you're fine. But if you need help along the lines or have questions, just let me know.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Sure. Do we have anybody else? Now's your chance. You have a live expert here. You won't have to pay any money because it's free right now. Once I sign off, then if you call me later, I might have to charge you, but I don't know.
I think we get Al Sato unmuted. So Al, you get something for Lance?
Yeah, hey, Lance, this is Al. My relative has a rental property out in Nolani, and about 2 years ago, they did some plumbing work in one of the bathrooms, and they actually made a shower into a bath, or a bath into a shower. But since it's not permitted, they're trying to figure out when they sell it, can they do some kind of after the fact permit, or what is the best way to go approach that? Any advice?
Yeah, okay. Very, very good question. If you attended my previous webinar on building permit and codes, I would have answered your question. But after the fact, building permit is kind of hard to get, because you need to get a contractor to basically go in and say that he's the one that did the work. And the problem is he can't see what the work was all about. So the going rate now is when you try to get a contractor to sign on as a contractor record, they're asking you to pay them $5,000 for them to sign the paper attesting that they're the contractor of record to get the building permit, even if they don't do any work, because they're the ones that are assuming the liability as if they did the work. So let's say that the work in Mililani, the pipe wasn't connected properly, and the guy signs off, and he's the contractor of record on the permit. Okay, so if there's a leak, technically he can get sued because the new home buyer goes, "Hey, you're the contractor that did the work, and it was shoddy." And the contractor go, "Oh yeah, I didn't even do any work. I just signed on as a contractor to get the permit." So there could be issues, but I think one bath remodel shouldn't be a big deal. A lot of times it's huge house additions, like 1,000, 2,000 square feet, where they build it without a permit, then they try to get it after the fact. And the problem with the after the fact too is you have to conform with today's code. So let's say the bathroom remodel was done 10 years ago. And even if it complied with the building code, the plumbing code 10 years ago, the codes change every 3 years. So it might not meet today's code, and they're not going to give you the after the fact building permit based on the code back then when the construction work was done. They're going to say, well, we're looking at it from today's codes, and if it's not up to par, you got to do this, you got to do that. So it's a little bit different. But from the real estate standpoint, there's an option to just disclose that condition and say, hey, we remodeled the bathroom and we never got a permit, and we're selling it as is. Okay, that's one way to do it. The best way though is to get the permit so everything's legal, and then there's no problems after that. Yeah. But,
Okay.
but good question.
Yeah, thanks, Lance. Thanks for letting me take it a little bit off the normal topic you have. Very
Yeah,
helpful.
no problem. Helping you anytime. By the way, we're doing more webinars for SCORE, so thanks. Do we have any other questions? Hey, Martin.
Yes, I'm here. No, I
Did-
don't see anybody else
I-
raising their hands.
I
but,
got a text from somebody that they didn't get their coffee and pastries. What happened?
sorry, I lost power on this site.
Oh, I know. I don't know what happened on my end, but I lost my video. I just kept talking. I don't know.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
yeah,
see
no
me?
problem. No problem. Yeah, that's technology, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions about this topic, please feel free to email, and we'd like to invite you to the next webinar on construction defects. And if you go to our website, we have all the topics for webinars throughout the rest of the year, and I'm sure you'll find some of them interesting. We have one on senior safety. So if you ever, if you're a senior, like Martin and I, or you're a caregiver, or you know people that are seniors, and there's a lot of them in Hawaii, I'm giving a special seminar on senior safety in the home, and we're going to cover slip and fall hazards, electrical, plumbing, and right now, the seating is limited. Every webinar, our seating is limited to 100 people, and that's not dictated by us. That's dictated by Zoom. So if you're interested, please sign up early, because those that are going to sign up late, and we already hit the 100 participant mark, sorry, they're going to be out. So it's just like a sellout situation. But once again, Martin and I appreciate your attendance. Hopefully you can join us on the next webinar. If you have any other questions, feel free to email or call us. And I think there should be Yeah, sorry, I forgot to advance to the question thing. I was so excited to answer questions, but here's our email and our phone number, and please feel free. We always want to help out. That's the name of the game. That's part of the reason why we have this Ask the Building Expert webinar series, because we're here to help people with their building and construction issues. And if you have also any other ideas for topics you want me to cover in the future, we'll be happy to hear you out and listen to you and take that into consideration. So once again, we thank you for joining us, and we're signing off, and hope to see you at the next webinar. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, you're welcome. So Martin, you can stop the recording.
Oh, yeah, we'll do.
Okay, and then I'm signing out.
Oh, yeah.